We spoke recruiting. We talked about exclusives. One last thing we got to go over before we get into some reactions and reviews is our discussion segment. So our discussion segment here is going to be pretty simple, but it's something I kind of came up with on the fly. Well, not really, because this was a topic that I really wanted to discuss early on, but I didn't really have an excuse to like kind of dive in with it. But today somebody brought up to me, um, you know, how easy it is to find Zomb Slays on Google, right? Like Zomb Slays, like the name, everything comes up for me, my Instagram, my Spotify, my Twitch, etc., 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 my Twitter, all that good jazz. So what we're going to talk about today is branding, but not really branding in terms of like logos and things like that. We're going to talk about the more kind of nerdier side of it and why it matters that you should have, consistent branding is the way I'm going to put it. Why you should have consistent branding, right? So let's talk about it. So, all right. This is a very interesting topic because for me, I love being consistent. I love having things kind of like in a certain way, whether that's like OCD or not, I'm not sure, but it kind of has a double benefit in the aspect of how easy it is for new supporters and fans to find you, right? So when it comes to your branding, again, I'm not really talking about logos. I'm not talking about logos. I'm not even talking about like your name in specific. What I'm talking about is your social media handles and where people can find you and your website and your search engine optimization, really. It really comes down to how well and how easy people can find you. So I think a big thing here that I see a lot of people do, and I'm talking like hundreds of people, especially over the last like 2 or 3 years where, we've been doing SoundCloud Sunday and we've been doing submissions and things like that. People's social media handles are usually different across all social medias, and that is not good. That is not good. I mean, some of it's preference, right? Like some of it's preference and it's not that big of a change. But if your Instagram handle is completely different from your Twitter handle and it's completely different from your Spotify, all those things aren't going to be lumped together when somebody Googles your name. So again, for those of you that are looking to go long term and you're trying to build a brand and you're trying to, become an entity almost, right? You're trying to build something. This is something you need to lock in. You absolutely have to lock this in because I see it way too much and it's way too hard to find certain people's social media. You can't find your Spotify because it's under a different name here and it's under a different name there. That is one of the easiest ways to lose momentum, right? Because you could be having people that like follow you for like 2 to 3 months, they're bumping all your shit, and then you change your social media handles without telling anybody. Or you change your website domain, or you start going by a slightly different name. There's so many situations where I see this happen and people kind of lose momentum because people can't find you. As easy as the internet is, right? There's still work to be done when it comes to making it easy for people to access you, right? That's why, having a website or even at the very least a link tree or any form of, those link websites where you can just shove a bunch of links in one place, because it's easier for people to find you, right? It's easier for people to connect with you, and it's easier for people to support you, right? And ultimately, like, that's what you want. Like, I'm not sure why people make it so hard on themselves for people to support them. That is the ultimate thing that is like wrong with this, is like you're just pushing people away and you're kind of steering people in like the wrong direction that would have found you if you weren't changing your name, or you had consistent social handles, or your website domain was like really solid. So that's where, in my personal experience, right? Because I don't really speak on shit that like I can't really vouch for. And this is something over the years that I've totally seen not only help people that lock down their names, but it becomes so much easier for people to just kind of not only find you, but like find the information that they want, right? Because for instance, like back in the day, everybody used to be like, oh yeah, Google me and this, that, and the third. Like I still even see it in people's bios to this day, like Google me, because now they have like, they've always had these, but now they have an easier way for you to get your artist panel on Google, right? So for those of you that don't know, type in your favorite artist on Google And to the right, you'll have that artist panel, right? And it has all their links to their music platforms and their socials and things like that. That's what you want. Every artist can have that. But if your socials and your shit isn't on lock, that's never going to happen. That's never going to happen because you can definitely edit your Google panels through Gmail, right? That's definitely something that has always been a thing. But when it comes to these like artist pages, it'll automatically collect data and it'll kind of like put that together for you if all of your shit is kind of in one place. So that's where, even if you're just starting out or even, you've been doing it for years, but you're trying to get your branding consistent, that would be one thing that I totally recommend for you just to make it easier for new potential supporters to find you, right? I mean, like, again, that's the ultimate goal. Like, you want your music to land on the right ears. So really all that's doing is just helping you kind of achieve that. That's really all that's doing. And it's decreasing the chances of you staying hidden. Because, like, the underground's a proud place, and, like, will always be underground, but nobody wants to be underground forever. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to find their fan base, and everybody wants to find their audience, and everybody wants to do these things, right? So that's one of those things where just make it easier for people to find you. That's why, again, the Linktree website thing really works because people are, like, it's 2024. People have, like, short attention spans. People are rushing. People, like, if they can't get to your Spotify page in less than 3 clicks, you're probably going to lose a fucking potential supporter. And maybe that's not even somebody you really want supporting you, right? Of course, because if you're not even going to take the time to, like, do your due diligence, you probably don't want them as, a fan anyway. But still, regardless, that still matters. You still want those people to kind of at least have a chance, right? So make it as easy as you can for people to find you. That's like the number one thing there, is to just make it easy for people to find you. That's it. Period. So again, if your Instagram and your Twitters and all your other handles are like slightly different, I don't think that that's that big of a deal. But don't make it just completely 2 different names, right? Because I've seen people with like different Twitter names than they do on Instagram, and their Spotify is also different because it's spelled a different way. Fuck that. Absolutely not. No way. Because really, all you're doing is just making it hard for people to find you. That's really all it is. You know what I mean? So try to get your branding consistent, and branding in that aspect of like the smaller stuff, not really like logos and the name itself, because you could call your name fucking Johnny Backwood. It doesn't really matter, but you need to make sure across all of your socials, your name is Johnny Backwood. You know what I mean? So that's one thing that is very, very, very fucking important. And even if it's like Johnny Backwood underscore 420 and then Johnny Backwood V2 on Twitter, like shit like that, it's also fine. You know what I mean? But just make it in general the same kind of idea, because you don't want it to where, people have to literally search something completely different to even find any of your music pages or even to find you on distro. You know what I mean? So that's my thing. And that's one thing that I definitely wanted to mention here, just because, again, I see a lot of people do it all the time. And, like I said at the start, like branding was something that I had even struggled with, right? I mean, because like the Zomb Slays name, like, wasn't a plan, you know what I mean? Like that was like my old gamer tag, and then when I got into music production, I just kind of kept it. And I even thought like once or twice about changing my name, but I never ended up doing it. And throughout the years, the name Zomb Slays just expanded. You know what I mean? I made more accounts on more socials. Things started to become more fluid when it came to me leaving like a digital footprint, right? Because that's really what you're doing is leaving a digital footprint, and that's the kind of footprint that you want to leave. You want to be everywhere at all times. So that's one thing I definitely recommend going into 2025 that you want to do, is to just make sure that all your socials are consistent and make sure it's very easy for people to find you. If you don't have a link tree, make a link tree. If all your handles are different, make them the same. If your Spotify is a little different, change that too. You know what I mean? Like make sure that all that shit's good going into 2025. So that way you can spend the year focusing on your art, not worrying too much about consistency or why people can't find you or X, Y, or Z, right? So that's that, my friends. That's that. Just a little thought on that, and just something I wanted to mention. But again, if you have any other questions or you have any thoughts about that, definitely leave it in the comments, because this will be uploaded on the channel. And of course, send us a tweet, send us a DM if you have any other questions about that too. But per usual, make sure you sub the channel. We're like 4 or 5 subs away from 300, so definitely sub the channel. We upload videos just like these 2 times a week. Every Thursday, every Saturday, full podcast episodes, exclusive segments, and a whole lot of good jazz over there, man. So make sure you go show these artists in the channel some motherfucking love, baby. Let's get it. Yeah, man. Just